today's episode, I'm thrilled to have Bianca Saunders, the British menswear fashion designer and creative director, joining me for my first ever Ashlee Janelle Discovers live event in Amsterdam. From Bianca's exceptional talent and creativity to her recent placement in the B.O.P 500, Bianca explains how to become a prominent figure in the fashion industry.
Welcome everyone. Well, I don't even know what to say and where to start, but first of all, I'll say welcome to the very first Ashlee Janelle Discovers live event. I see a lot of beautiful familiar faces and new faces. I'm Ashlee Janelle Discovers and I'm your host for tonight. And tonight we are celebrating the launch of my upcoming fashion series, Ashlee Janelle Discovers. And in this fashion series, I discover the keys to success in the fashion industry. But before we get into the conversation with my special guests, I would like to know more about you guys. So, raise your hands if you are a fashion designer or currently working on a fashion brand. Okay. Raise your hands if you're a fashion student. Okay, I see a few in the back as well. Raise your hands if you're professionally working in the creative or in the fashion industry. Oh, that's a lot. Good, good. I would say get your notepads ready because my special guest for tonight was named as one to watch by the British Fashion Council in 2017. After that, she won the Undone Fashion Award in 2021 to now designing for the musical legend Usher for Met Gala 2023 as the first Black British female designer. And she traveled from London to Amsterdam this morning to share her personal fashion journey with us. I am talking about the amazing fashion designer and creative director, Bianca Saunders! Bianca, how are you doing?
Amazing. Actually, it's so great to see like the diversity in the crowd and everyone that's here. Thank you guys for coming, and also thank you for the lovely introduction.
Yeah, no, of course, thank you. Thank you for taking the time of your busy schedule to be here with us and share your story. It means a lot from me to me. And yeah, I've been following you for a while. You may not know it, but I've been following you for a while. And it was actually a very good friend of mine, Irene Melati. I'm sure she's somewhere here in the crowd. But she was actually the one that introduced your work to me. And I saw it and I was like, this is so refreshing for the fashion industry. Was that also something that you wanted people to see and to feel when you first launched the brand?
I think my main focus of like my journey and my experience was just like I really wanted to have like a luxury fashion brand, and I wanted a brand that was also artistic. So when I was growing up, I was always like obsessed with art and like making and creating, and like the best way of kind of like outputting that is if I could have the balance of the both. And I guess watching like some fashion films, like probably like Alexander McQueen's journey, and seeing exactly how he was able to transform things that he had in his mind into something that was very much like incredible, also like taking time for people to actually think about years on beyond his existence is like why I kind of like wanted to do what I wanted to do. But of course there was always like, I did have a tutor one time who was like, you know, you might be the only black face, and I was like, well, I don't know, Mum never told me I couldn't, so it did like startle me a little bit in the journey of it, but I was like, let me just remember that I said that I didn't actually, it wasn't about that, it was about kind of like showing people that it was possible, and I was like, if I'm the first, hopefully it inspires the next.
Right, very beautiful. If I'm the first, hopefully it inspires the next. I love that. So what would you say is very British and very Jamaican about the Bianca Saunders brand?
I guess probably my name's probably the most British thing. And then I guess the most Jamaican thing about me is probably like the music that is played in my shows. So it's always like, it has like, it's a fusion of like a really old like dancehall reference track than like maybe like a disco sound or like or something entwined into like jazz. That's what I would like try to do. But I guess more about like the style and also like the subtle take. So like people talk about like the remember me scarf, so it has like a Jamaican saying that basically you'll find like kitchen scrolls, which is like what you do here, what you see here, what you hear here, or don't come back. And then like I think that saying has really like followed through with my brand.
And what does that saying mean?
I guess it's just like I feel like Jamaican people, they're very much like just don't chat my business. Like don't talk about me too much, or like keep whatever you, because like the home is a big part of like Jamaican community. So like what is inside my house, don't be talking about me.
Right.
And bringing that all together, because like I think as me as a person, I'm quite reserved, but I'm also quite like extroverted as well too. So like I think that saying really does like indicate who I am.
Beautiful. Talking about the brand, starting a brand isn't easy, but the fashion industry isn't either. Mm-hmm. So what motivated you to start your own brand?
I guess it was like my last project. So when I was in my BA at Kingston, I thought I was going to work for like COS. I was really obsessed with COS, like, or I was going to work for like a really commercial brand. And then just like exploring my own personal journey and like being like, oh, actually just discovering menswear actually, because I only had like 6 months experience of doing that. And then I was like, if I work somewhere else, like I don't think the way that I work is gonna be adaptable to somewhere else. And I was like, I just had this idea that if I do my own thing, it would be a good story to tell. And what I found in myself is what was a good story to tell. And then it's so weird because I was like, there's different factors in terms of like how I started it, because I was always like an internet person. So my Instagram was a big thing, like throughout like my graduate stage. I always was like showing what I was making and trying to promote that, or like trying to DM like a stylist. I had an interview the other day and like there was a screenshot from like there was like a message from like 2015, and I was like, oh, our work is very similar, could you like use it for something? And then like years later I'm interviewed by that person. Wow. So I was, I guess, really determined to just put myself out there, and the promotion of having it in like little magazines here and there helped build me being recognised by the British Fashion Council, or like I guess me being from London, and I used to have a lot of like different jobs. I used to meet some people and I used to go out quite a lot. I was always talking about what I was doing. So if someone could sometimes even just being vocal about what you do and mentioning it, you never know who's actually listening or who's going to be that person to connect you to the right thing. And that's basically what happened.
Yeah. Just not being shy, being out there and talking to people. Mm-hmm. How was the fashion industry that time though when you started? Do you remember like any pivotal moments of that time when you started?
It's really weird because I was like, I feel like COVID changed a lot of things for me, because and that's when the brand really started to like accelerate a lot more, because I was like, with fashion there's not one way of doing things. And before COVID, everyone was like focused on, let's show it as a runway. It needs to be a runway to get bigger. So to get more attention, it needs to be, you need to have it on a certain model. It needs to look a certain way. And how I wanted to do things was sort of like, oh, okay, it doesn't sound like new anymore. But I was like, let me create a zine to kind of like explain like my story or like my research. And then I was like I got into like ICA Gallery and a couple small like little shops, and then I also worked with a director who did a film, and then like I showed the film, and then I created a gallery inside of a club. So Ace Hotel had a basement, and I displayed the film, and then I worked with a photographer who she was on my photography course, and now she's doing really well. So that helped. And I saw her work on Facebook. I was like, we definitely need to work together. And then I got her to do a lookbook, and then I told the story of everything with like poetry from Kaylee Femi, who is a director and like an author. and I had to illustrate every part. So I think I just was like, let me think about how to create my brand as a world, and that's what kind of like brought it together. And then of course now I do obviously do like runway shows, but I'm always like, I want to try this event or like do that, because if my brand just stays as one thing, it's just not exciting for me.
No, but I love that, because if I'm listening to how you're saying this, you actually approached it more as, like you said, a project, almost like a research, right? Instead of, okay, what pieces am I going to design, and then work on that collection. So I think that's a very interesting approach. But also going back to a little bit what you said about being very ambitious and talking to people about it, I think there's something about just ambition and being very motivated. I'm sure all these people here are also very motivated and inspired, or even people here having personal goals. What was your biggest, I wouldn't say motivation, but where do you think that ambition came from?
I would say my parents. So, of course, they were loving everything I was doing in uni. That was great. But like after I graduated, they was like, so you're gonna, it's like all the press is good, but you're gonna get a job. So I was like, you're gonna get a job, and then I was like, okay. It was like 6 months after, like December time. I was like, oh. I was like, maybe you should get something like before the end of the year. And then I was working in retail at the time, and then my manager was like, kind of like, well, I guess he always knew what I was doing, and he thought it was amazing. He was like, wait, what are you doing here? So like the pressure and anxiety of everything was just like, it was a lot at the time. So I think that was my main motivation, to make it really, really work and be something really quickly, because I wouldn't necessarily say that's like the journey that everyone should go down, because maybe if I did do it again, I always say that my journey and like how I've done things isn't the same way everyone should do it.
No. Yeah. Everybody's journey is different.
Yeah, everyone's journey is different, and like how I've done it might not have been the most healthiest way, because I was like not sleeping for most of it. So yeah.
Well, I hope you have some sleep now.
Yeah, no, definitely. But yeah, by force the weekends, me over and chill and stuff. So it's good.
Well, you spoke about your parents being a motivation also for you. From time to time, I like to look at old vintage pictures of my parents and my family, just to remind myself of where I come from. And my parents were very entrepreneurial. My mom loved traveling, and my dad was all about, it still is all about supporting the Ghanaian community. So when I look at my work, all of this makes sense. Do you also have moments of reflections, and where do those memories take you?
I guess mostly like the people around me, they remind me, because I'm always like, sometimes I'm a bit too far ahead of like what I'm doing, and it's important to kind of like look back and be like this has happened, like make sure you like celebrate that, and also just looking at exactly like the influences around me as well too. And people ask me questions, I always like think like, oh, of course, like one of the biggest inspirations I would say is my mum, because she's like very like much entrepreneurial. She's always thinking about a business idea, or like trying to do some sort of course, or buying a piece of equipment and seeing if she could like turn a business out of it, basically. So I think that has definitely helped. And our family photographs, we have so many, so I've definitely like used them on like prints as part of like collections, or like even taken like certain elements of like, I'm looking back and really liking that. But I think having that grounding has really kept me, I guess, fresh in a way.
Yeah. No, I believe so too. Bianca, I mentioned in the beginning that in 2018 you were named by the British Fashion Council as one to watch. And as we saw, we have a few fashion students here, but also fashion designers, people that are currently working on a brand. But I'm sure there are also people here who are craving for information on how to get to the next level. Why do you think the British Fashion Council gave you that title?
Yeah, when I applied for Nugent, and they was like, I know you're one to watch, and I was like, oh, isn't that a downgrade? But then now, now it's like, it's great to be like known as that, because I was like, yeah, of course at the time, like, or even till now, like, oh,
It
like,
almost feels like it was a manifestation. Because
Yeah.
look at it, you know?
yeah, no, it definitely was, like, for sure. And I guess I was very, very determined to like be seen, so I was creating things for myself, so like the exhibition I did after graduating, the film that I did, the collection as well too. I got 2 stockists, and then before the British Fashion Council had me a part of the London Fashion Week schedule, I showed my collection in Copenhagen as a part of like one granary, so they asked me to join them with like I think about 7 other people, and then I showed at Pitiomo. It was a very like small exhibition, but I was like, I'm gonna tell everyone about this. So I told like I put on my Instagram. I sent out like emails and invites to tell people like, if you're gonna be here, just let me know, or like DM people. And I told this writer called Charlie Porter. So he put it on his Instagram, and then buyers came from like Browns and like Matches Fashion. They didn't necessarily buy the collection then and there, but
They saw you.
they saw me,
Right.
and then it did eventually come to that.
Yeah, yeah. So how did these opportunities, especially getting a title like that, how did it help you in launching the brand? Or just pushing the brand?
I guess it helped push the brand, and also get the opportunity of being in like the stores I dreamed of. So like being in Matches Fashion, and then like also like later being in Browns, and then there was a shop in Japan as well too. So like being like, oh, I'm international because I'm in London and Japan.
Right, you can call it an international brand now.
So I was like, now we call it international brand now, which is like quite funny. So I think those things made it interesting, but as well too, I think because in terms of me being there, I don't think it was necessarily about like, it was more about the work, because I never used to really post myself like that, so it wasn't really about like, oh, we're just going to have like a woman do this, or like, of course the name Bianca Saunders, but it was just the brand was interesting, and it told something that was different to what was currently out there, and like in terms of like the actual cuts and the shapes, people thought it was really interesting, and like it was changing I guess how design was for, I guess, British men, and
Yeah.
I guess design as a whole.
Yeah, 100%. What do you think fashion brands need in this day and age to stand out? Because clearly you did something to stand out in that time, like you said, just redefining traditional styles. What do you think fashion brands need now?
I think definitely community is a big thing, and I would say definitely individuality in terms of like marketing. Like once fashion has a way of like it being continuously the same thing, people do get bored, and then like what comes out of that is like the standouts. It's what's different, like what's keeping someone interested. What, like, it could be the most simplest t-shirt ever, but it's a story that makes someone really interested in grabbing that, and I feel like they're a part of something. People want to feel like they are a part of a community of people, and feel like they are individual, but in a cult sort of like way, in a not cult, let's not say cult, but like
Just community,
community sort of way, yeah.
Right, but I feel like nowadays a lot of people are also doing storytelling, but then how do you recognize when it's like a real storytelling, and when it's just, okay, let me try to tell a story to make my brand look very interesting, just as an advice for people that are working on a fashion brand?
Yeah, I think people can always tell when it's like inauthentic, because it's just like, I don't know, and at the end of the day it has to be good clothes, so it's got a few things that people really want to wear. And sometimes as well too, when it's too much of a story, it's like it's just like overkill, because I don't know, like the most simplest things in art are like the most effective. So it's like having the balance of both, but also knowing exactly what story you are going for. So if you're the kind of designer that's got like a big manifesto or like why you've made things, then it makes sense. But if you're designing like, you know what, I just wanted to make things for people on bikes, and they're cool people on bikes that take like, I don't know, skateboard pictures of themselves, then like it's interesting, isn't it? Because like, oh, this is a growing community that is like becoming something, and people want to feel a part of that.
Nice. Winning the Amsterdam Fashion Award was another special moment in your fashion career. Can you tell the people more about Amsterdam and also the prize that you won?
So winning, it was so weird because that year I was up for 3 different prizes. I was up for the LVMH, and then I was up for the GQ menswear, men's fashion brand, and then also Amsterdam. And then with Amsterdam, that was like, I guess it was like almost a little bit after COVID, so I didn't really go into it thinking I was going to win. Like I went into it because I wanted the opportunity to like talk about my brand to people that I really admire, and for them to actually hear how interesting my brand is, and like how I guess passionate I am being a designer, and like how focused I am at being a great designer. So it was like there was like so many different brands that are a lot more older and more senior to me.
But what is the process like? Like, do you apply online to say,
yeah.
How does it go?
So it's with different prizes. There's different like you do get people that might like for certain prizes they might tell you to apply, but it doesn't actually necessarily mean that you're gonna get it. Because I applied for people told me to apply for prizes and I never even got it. So I'm like, why did you tell me to apply in the first place? I had to apply online, and then I had to do a video. So like probably like on my Instagram reels, there's a video of me talking about like how I didn't have a mannequin, and I was like, I can't wait to get one of those, because I used to just make things on people, and that was and like it was always my goal to show in Paris. So like having the opportunity to apply for that prize and be able to show in Paris was like a big. It's kind of like showing in Paris is like, for me, it's like the cherry on top of like, wow, you really like, you're really a part of like fashion, and like people really want to see your opinion every season.
For the young designers, why do you think it's important to participate in competitions like this?
I think sometimes as well too, when you represent your brand, you know why you're doing it, and you know what the purpose it has for the future. So it has a lot of planning. They're asking you like so many questions like, what's the purpose of your brand? Where do you see it going? Where do you see it going 5 years time? You know, from having been asked these questions, you know that you're doing it for a reason. But as well too, it does bring your brand exposure, as well as you get to meet like so many amazing designers. You're in a panel of like industry experts that hopefully eventually do become your mentors. You're not going to get that kind of opportunity. No. So
because you were mentored by I don't know if I'm going to pronounce his name right, but Cedric Charbit, the CEO of Balenciaga.
Yeah.
He mentored you. How was that experience like, and what lessons did you take out of it?
I guess just more authenticity, and I guess also him being my mentor was pretty like incredible as well too. So it was great. He like with my first fashion show, it was very small, so it was just as COVID, like we was only allowed to go to Paris like 2 weeks before, and that wasn't even going to happen. So him just introducing me to people that should know the brand, and like how Susan Coiler and like people like that. It's just like
access.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
access. So what I've noticed with young designers is that during Fashion Week, a lot of young designers host their own events, pop-up stores, or even parties, simply because maybe they don't have the funding to be part of the official schedules, or they might not have the connections that you have, right? Do you think as an upcoming designer, it is important to be recognized or supported by these official fashion organizations such as British Fashion Council or Fashion Week or Amsterdam? Is it important?
Not necessarily. I think the most important is you actually having the community that supports you. So have a good community of people that support you. So like, even though it was a very short amount of time, but like I guess having people come out to like my small exhibitions, like those sort of things, it shows that like I actually have a following of people that actually want to buy the brand or they want to understand it. So like having a strong online community is more important than that, because eventually they're gonna come around. Like
Right.
like they're gonna want you to be a part of their list. They're gonna want you to be a part of like, oh, we discovered this person and they were a part of their journey. So you've got to make people want to be a part of what you're doing.
Yeah. So it's first all about creating your own community, a very strong, strong community and identity for yourself, and eventually it would all fall into place.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
No, definitely.
Yeah. What advice would you give young designers in terms of seeking mentorship?
Just DM people. Sometimes they might not answer, but you never know. So I think definitely ask people, but I think also know exactly what kind of you're asking for, because sometimes people do ask me, but I'm just like, they'll ask me just to interview me, and I was like, in terms of like mentoring, it's like you're coming to them for a specific problem. Like, okay, I don't know, had problems with my factories, and like this is happening, and I don't know how that even works. Like you're, instead of like asking, oh, how did you get stuff in matches fashion? Like, come on, like it's like I've like had so many interviews of like people telling me saying the same thing. Like it's got to be active questions that you can think. But I think even just going to their events, actually knowing who you're asking to mentor, like knowing their journey as well too, that's important. And I think as well too, just actually the person that you're seeking out to be mentored by, actually knowing who they are, because then some people will just be like, you're successful, I just want you to mentor me, but then it doesn't actually make sense in terms of what journey you're going on.
Yeah. And also one time I got an advice that an online person can also be your mentor, somebody that you don't know, but just following their journey, that can also be a mentor. So I think that's a really good one, just knowing who they are and also the questions to ask. I have a few more questions, and then I wonder if the audience also has some questions for you. But also let's talk about you designing for the musical legend Usher at the Met Gala. How was that experience like? Because it looked so amazing.
Yeah, that was so crazy. So we got this email from Vogue, and then like Vogue and Balenciaga wanted you to sit on their table as like one of the emerging silent artists, and I was like, of course, we're gonna make this happen. So I was literally like, I called like one of my friends. I was like, this is happening, and we were just trying to find someone to dress, because otherwise it would just been like me walking on the red carpet and being like, who's me? Like, who is she? And early this year, so Usher came to my show in Paris, and we had like a dinner, like a little lunch thing, and he was just asking me like what my journey, and like he really likes my brand, he wants to support like more and that sort of stuff, and he was like, oh, you thought about doing the Met? And I was like, yeah, but like how do you get to do that? And he was like, oh, like well, I guess Vogue asked you to do it, and luckily he was also going for two, and then by meeting his team, he was like, oh, he really wants me to dress him. So we had like 5 to 6 weeks to get that together. So it was so fun though. It was very stressful. Like, of course, like I was like so much pressure, but like having the theme of Karl Lagerfeld was amazing, because like just looking at all of his like journey, and like in terms of like the kind of work that I make is like it was the right sort of project to work on. So like deconstructed tailoring and like exploring that was really interesting. So yeah, I made like 6 looks for him, because like everyone knows exactly what happens at the Met. There's like an after party and that sort of stuff. So let's make as many things as we can just to prepare for everything. And then we did I guess we went to Vegas, and then we did like a fit in like a couple of days before, and did like all the adjustments there. And then like the whole the car experience, that was his idea, so I'm giving him the credit for that. He was like, we need to make a big moment out of it, because like it's been a while since he's done it, and it was my first time doing it. So yeah, it was definitely perfect for sure.
And what did that do to your confidence? Like, do you have moments of doubt sometimes, and then when these opportunities come, you're like, no, I'm actually really good at what I do. Like,
Yeah, I think it comes and goes, but I was like, I feel like it's one like the same people say new levels, new devils. Like,
Right.
yeah, let me not say that you're always gonna have that, but I think just having people around me that believe in me and like make me feel confident again, because like there's so much out there on the internet and that sort of stuff, and that can be a big distraction to what you're actually doing. So sometimes you just need to break away from that and just remind yourself that you're here for a reason, and if your time is now, it is because God chose you to be like right now, basically.
I agree. Bianca, how would you like to be remembered in years to come?
My, I guess, eternal goal is always to be known as a great designer. So I'm always like, I don't feel like I've like scraped the surface just yet in terms of like what I could do creatively. And I guess my brand to live beyond my years is like my greatest thing that I would like to be known as. But definitely a great designer, a designer that has like, I guess, changed things for women designing menswear, and also black women in luxury fashion as well too. And I guess people seeing that they could be on the BOF 500, or they could do the Met Gala, like that sort of thing. So I think that's changing people's goalposts in a way.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. No, it is. It is. Thank you, Bianca. Thank you. Do we have any questions in the audience? Yeah. Can somebody help me with the microphone? Ines, can you help me? Who's here?
Hello. Yeah, you can hear me. So I have a question, because there's a lot of, I heard, designers and fashion designers in this audience, but there's also like other fashion adjacent jobs, art directors. So I was wondering, like for you, like how do you approach like image making for your brand? How do you approach, you know, the visions for shoots and stuff like that? Because I see that you have a very great art direction for the brand. So I was wondering if you have any like tips on that and like recommendations for art directors.
It's so weird, because I was like, I feel like I didn't, in the beginning I didn't really realize I was doing that in terms of like the art direction of the brand. I was like, kind of, what is that? Like I've only recently like realized that. But I think what I have done is like, just in terms of my research and like putting together really strong references. So like whenever I have creative meetings and that sort of stuff, I really just bring the whole team together and making sure that like it feels like it is a collaboration, but I always will create the main mood board in terms of what I want the brand to look like. And I guess as well too, sometimes even like conversations has helped that, like having like older men in like my shoots, that was inspired by like this guy. He worked in finance and he was like, I guess about 60, and he wanted these little pants, and he was like, oh, he got like, it was a bit uncomfortable. He loved the brand, but it's a weird email, and I was like, no, I want everyone to feel like they are part of it, so like let's put that in the shoot, or like let's like have this style of things. But I guess watching a lot of older things and trying not to have the references too new to the time that is now.
Thank you.
Hi, I have a question. How do you stand or feel about working with not only different skin tones or backgrounds, but also working with different bodies, like not only size 0, but also size XXL or XL?
So recently, I definitely, that's my main goal and next step for my brand. I really want to show more people that are of bigger sizes wearing my brand. I even asked, like, recently asked, like, oh, it would be great to have, like, my boyfriend's brother in it, because, like, I want to make sure everyone feels comfortable wearing Bianca Saunders. And there's so many guys that want to wear the brand, even though our size range is, like, extra small to extra large. Like, that is my next goal, to make sure that, like, everybody looks good in my brand. So I know it's not something that I have done now, but it's definitely going to come.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I have two questions, if that's okay.
First of all, you said like put yourself out there, seize every opportunity. Is that like priority? Is it? Do you actually like take all the opportunities you get to show your brand, or do you feel like you have to be selective?
It all depends, because I was like, if you're very specific on the aesthetic that you're going for, then stick to that aesthetic and then don't fall away from it. I think I was saying that backstage with you, I was saying that like in terms of like making myself really individual, it's just like keeping myself away from being trendy and like just as far as I can stay away from it. Like just like we're not gonna do that because that's not what I like. But I feel like I'm very if someone shows me something, I know right away, okay, no, I actually don't like that. and then I think that helps me decide. Sometimes I like to see those things. But in terms of opportunities, I would say sometimes you do have to say yes, even though to things. But like as your career goes on, then you can start filtering down what you want to do. So like in the beginning, do like go for everything, but there'll come a time where you're like, now is the time that I can actually start like saying no to certain things.
Cool, thank you. One more is you said community is very important to get with your brand and have like this community. How do you attract people to like be in this community? How does that take form?
I would say that I'm quite authentic to like my brand. So like my community was essentially built off of friends that I collaborated with, and then it's a bit hard to kind of like say as a whole. But sorry, say the question again. So I'm like,
that's okay. I was just wondering, how do you I don't know if somebody has the word for it. How do you get people to come into this community? Like, how does that take shape?
I guess just having events and also inviting people down as well too. But I guess also being like picking people out, like maybe like even just making a mood with people, and this is the kind of people that I'm targeting towards, and these are the people that I want as a part of my community. So it's very focused. Or just like knowing exactly what your mission statement is. So I'm going for like my brand is like to have people part of it that want to buy clothes that are timeless, but buy clothes that are interesting. So that will be the type of person I'm looking for, not necessarily the person that is like, oh, they're trend based.
Yeah. So having like the why very clear.
Yeah, making the why really clear, I think, is a big step.
Cool, thank you.
Yes, well, you're obviously a black woman, and over the years, black designers, black-owned businesses have been really, highlighted a lot. But how do you deal with that? Do you embrace that, the term or the label of being a black-owned business, being a black designer, or do you try to step away from that? How do you kind of relate yourself to that term?
I feel like it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because I never want to be like, boxed in, but I think it's the thing that it should be celebrated. It's actually a good celebration, because it means that we're growing. It means that we're diversifying exactly what it means to be black-owned business. And I think in the last almost 10 years actually, there's been like so much diversity of what a black-owned business looks like. And like, let me just name some really random, like Slonge has like created like a whole like new type of like black girl, and like what that exists, and like she likes art, she likes like stone, and she likes a certain type of like creativity. So it's like, what does that like, as black people we are so diverse, so just making sure that it stands out as then the more businesses that we do have, the more that it just becomes like, oh, someone just owns a business, less of a novelty and more of an actual just appreciation.
And also, how did you in the past and maybe in the future deal with that in terms of white institutions using that term? And
I guess in the beginning, I don't know, it was so weird, because I never wanted like who I am to interfere with like the brand. So like I always had the thing of like just not showing myself, or like are men gonna buy clothes from me, like, and then in the end it didn't actually matter, because it was more like, oh, it's just actually just great clothes. So it always depends on how good your product is, and like how good you are at connecting with people. So and then also like people, it's so hard because I was like, I was having a conversation with a group of people, and I was saying that like how more often like with businesses, like with black business, people want to see the person, whereas like there's so many fashion brands, you don't even know who the hell makes it.
You
So
exist, like you have to be the face of
yeah,
the brand as well as have the brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
Black people should get this.
yeah, it's a bit like over. It's like, do I have to? Sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, no, it's great, but I'm like, oh, I don't want it to be like, even like my own Instagram, I'm like, oh, there's 2 pictures of myself on there, but then like, oh, I don't know, like a white person will say to me like, no, you show yourself more, but then like someone else is like, no, like why do you want to see, like, it's always, I guess there's no way of winning with it, so you just have to figure it out and just find a way that suits you.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you for the lovely talk, ladies. Bianca, just a question from the point of view of arts and culture, because if I heard you correctly, you were mentioning being interested in like even this MFA type of like going on about your creative process. What I want to look into a little bit is like, what is your relationship to the gallery space or the contemporary art space when it comes to your work, when we look at silhouettes in fashion as opposed to like sculpture work? A lot of your silhouettes remind me of the work of Thomas T. Price, who does a lot of beautiful works about black men specifically in the public space. So I'm wondering, how do you relate to the sculpture and the contemporary art space? And then you were talking about gender a little bit, and then it made me think of the people that we usually like consider the architects of black masculinity, and even the masculine menswear. I'm wondering, from this perspective of being a black woman and designing menswear, whose footsteps are you stepping into, or are you paid? Do you feel like you're paving a whole new terrain? Like, and does that matter?
You might need to keep the mic, so I'm not going to ask.
Maybe let's start with the first
Yeah,
question.
the first question. So you were saying about like how does sculptural work influence my work, and my work reminds you of Thomas J. Price, right?
Yes.
So interesting enough, like when I was studying, like I was a little bit lost. Like my course was very much like I was the only black person in my course, the person of color, and I saw an email because Thomas J. Price also went to the RCA, and I saw his work. And he was of course like exploring like blackness and like in sculptural form. And I messaged him for him to mentor me. So he like, and then he taught me how to sculpt. And it was a really like interesting, yeah. So it's like pretty incredible that you said that. So I'm actually gonna like text him like, oh yeah, someone said that they work for me. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. But I always like to do things outside of fashion just to like be refreshed into what I'm doing, because like majority of the time I'm doing like business stuff, and being tactile and using my hands and like sculpting around things is like something that I find really interesting, and what keeps my creativity quite fresh. So hopefully one day I do get to do like more artwork and explore that a bit more. I have like done like exhibitions here and there. So there was an exhibition that my work was in Amsterdam. So that was great, more like my fashion work. And I also did one in Paris, a part of a group collective called Drawing in the Blank in like 2021. And then also my stuff's in Somerset House as a part of the Missing Thread, which is a black exhibition about black fashion in Britain. And then the Design Museum also has like a collection of my work from the beginning, so you can see like my personal politics film. I guess I did this presentation which was about like dance hall scenes. So I got like these guys to dance in these like little boxes, like kind of like a peep show. And I wanted to kind of show their like individuality, their sexiness. So that was quite interesting. So in a way, I was like, if I did that again, that could probably be seen as art. So it's interesting how sometimes with fashion, it really does like it does draw it out of you a bit. But yeah.
Hi Bianca, I do really admire your work. My question is about the production. Do you have manufacturers or where do you produce your collections? Thank you.
Well, at the moment we're still like in the process of changing things a lot. So, as you know, Brexit has been a huge problem for the UK and import and export. So a lot of the stuff I used to produce in like factories in Tottenham, and now I can't really do that because the majority of the fabrics I get are from Europe. So we do produce in like Bulgaria. We do produce some stuff in China, but we're trying not to make it so far from where it is. So like Europe production, Portugal is a great place to have your production as well too, because they do have a lot of ethical factories. But I think going out and actually visiting them, there actually is a Portuguese union in terms of like factories and stuff like that. So I think if you get in contact with them. But I think with factories, it's very much trial and error. Someone can make Balenciaga and make your stuff like really badly. So they're going to prioritize always bigger.
Well, Bianca, once again, thank you very much. And can you guys please help me give her? I also have some other people to thank, so I want to give my special thanks to, I'm going to read it from my list so that I don't forget anybody, Soho House, and in particular Rebecca, Soraya, and Tamia. Thank you very much. Elroy from Owusu, thank you. My management, Ines, Stefano, and Emma from Hunch Agency. Thank you so much. Ida Scholes, my creative producer. Thank you. Wouter and Hendricks, Charlotte Tilbury, the camera team, Kojo, Dennis, Katarina, and Fred. Thank you very much. Family and friends, but last but not least, Leroy Wadia, my man. And honestly, the strategist behind all my creative ideas, thank you so much for always listening to me, because I talk a lot. So thank you, and also thank you guys for being here. Thank you so much. Well, we're going to be here for a while, so if you have any more questions for Bianca, if you want to meet her in person, she's here. She's all yours now. So thank you guys.